Well, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. And now, not only welcome back to my channel, but welcome back to my Dart Frog series. So as I'm sure many of you know by now, I recently moved. And because of this move, my Dart Frog series took a little bit of an unexpected break. But I'm excited to say that it is back, it is not going anywhere, I just had to put a little pause on it. So without further ado, let's get right back into it. Today, in part 4 of my Dart Frog series, I'm going to be showing you how I set up my Dart Frog enclosure from start to finish. So we are going to be adding in the drainage layer, the soil, the plants, and everything in between. This video is honestly one of the ones I am most excited for from this series, so I really hope that you enjoy it. So before we get started with this video, I want to take a minute to thank Exo Terra and tell you about their new Frogs & Co. line. If you've been a fan of this series, I'm sure you know by now that I have partnered with Exo Terra to create this Dart Frog enclosure. So to create this Dart Frog enclosure, I'm using a bunch of products from the new Frogs & Co. line. I'm using things like their Dart Frog terrarium, their Terra skylights, the Monsoon multi, along with some of their substrates. And I am being completely honest when I say that so far I have really been enjoying all of the products that I've used. Especially these tanks. I am honestly really in love with these tank designs. If you own a pet amphibian or are looking to get a pet amphibian or even a pet reptile, I would definitely recommend checking out the Frogs & Co. line because there's a lot of new products that I can honestly say have been making my pet keeping life a bit easier. So after you watch this video, make sure you click the link down in the description to check out the Frogs & Co. website. In part 3 of my Dart Frog series, I brought you all along with me as I created this background for my Dart Frog enclosure. Now that the background is done, it's time to finally set up the enclosure. Before we start setting up the tank, we need to get the drain and valve hooked up. These new frog terrariums have this drain on the bottom which easily allows you to empty your drainage layer or paludarium water. It's been a few months now since I first set up my tree frog enclosure, and having the drain on it has really proved to be very useful, and I can honestly say that I'm a big fan of it. Before I put anything in the enclosure, I'm going to wash off the background with water to get rid of any residue or dust. First, I'm going to start adding some accents to the background I created. I'm going to be using some Exo Terra moss and these really cool golden mushrooms. As soon as I saw these mushrooms, I knew that I needed to incorporate them into this build. I think that they will really add a lot to the background. To secure the mushrooms in place, I used a small amount of super glue. I used a total of 5 golden mushrooms plus the 2 mushroom ledges in the background. With the mushrooms in place, it's time to get started with the moss. I'm using silicone to stick the moss to the background. This moss serves multiple purposes. The moss will create a surface that live plants and live mosses can survive on. It also makes the background look nicer and more natural, and you can use it to cover any imperfections that you don't like in the background. Here's what it looks like with the mushrooms and moss in place. I think that it looks great and I cannot wait to see it with life added. It's time to create our drainage layer. I'm using Exo Terra BioDrain. Since this enclosure has a drain in it, I don't need the drainage layer to be too deep, but having one is still crucial for success. To separate the soil from the drainage layer, I'll be using this BioDrain mesh. Now it's substrate time. I'm going to make my own mix using substratum, cocoa husk, leaf litter, moss, and an organic soil peat moss / other various things mixture. I'm actually really happy with how this mix turned out. I think that it'll work really well for my plants and cleanup crew. While placing the substrate, I added 2 slate rocks and I sloped the substrate up towards the back. This will help add depth to the enclosure. Here's a look at the enclosure before any plants are added. Now it's time for what I'm most excited for, planting the enclosure. For months prior to building this enclosure, I've been buying plants and getting them ready to use in this enclosure. The plants are really going to transform it. the plants I'm using have already been cleaned and grown in animal-safe substrates prior to planting. After the plants have been added, I put down a layer of leaf litter. This setup here is my favorite I've ever done. From the background, the plants, the mushrooms, it's all just incredible to me. I really can't wait to see this tank bloom and to see my frogs in here. I am really looking forward to that. And there we go. There is my dart frog tank completely set up. Wow. I am insanely happy with how this tank turned out. I am not lying when I say that this is by far one of my favorite tanks I have ever set up. When it came to setting up this tank, I really put a lot of time and effort into it, and you know, I took my time thinking about things and planning things out and getting, you know, my plant choice and all of that stuff put together, and I am just extremely happy with the results. Once again, I want to give a huge thank you to Exo Terra for sponsoring this video and just making all of this possible. I am truly, truly grateful for the opportunity, and I am also truly grateful for how wonderful Exo Terra has been to work with throughout my whole moving process. So thank you all so much for working with me and for sponsoring this series. I am so excited for it to continue, and I'm so excited to add my frogs into the enclosure, and yeah, I am just really excited for you guys to see the upcoming videos. So with all this said and done, I am just going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you all so much for watching. I do truly appreciate it. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps me out, and it'll get you lots of more fun animal content, so make sure you do that. Also be sure to check out all of my social media if you want. It is all MSAM99, and it will all be down in the description below. So feel free to check that out if you want. I would love to have you over there. And with all this said and done, I'm going to go ahead and end the video now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video.